15th Congress is hereby called to order. Let us observe a minute of silent prayer. Amen. The Philippine Opera Company Harana Group will lead us in the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, and the group will also render a medley entitled Panunumpa sa Bayan. Secretary, please call the roll. Salamat ba? Thank you.
The Honorable Senators Angara,
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Hontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Suveri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 18 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 54th session, Wednesday, February 7, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we take up the reference of business at a later time because of pressing matters that need to be addressed by the Senate.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Leader? Hearing none, we shall follow your motion, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to acknowledge some guests in the gallery today. We have the officers of the NAPOLCOM, the Women and Children Protection Center, the Police Superintendent, headed by Police Superintendent Liborio Carabacan, the Chief, and also the other officers, and then Attorney Sam Inocencio of the International Justice Mission National Director. There are many of them present here. Also the guests of the Committee on Foreign Relations, chaired by Senator Legarda. We have the officials of the Department of Foreign Affairs, led by ASEC Maria Adrelita Austria. The officials of the Department of Justice, led by Senior State Counsel Marlene Angeles. The officials of the Department of Finance, led by Director Herminio Runas. And officials of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Also, we have the grade 11 senior high school students from Lorenzo Ruiz de Manila School, headed by their faculty members, Mrs. Evangelista, Mrs. Indias, Ms. Decano, and Mr. Robles. And also the students from the St. Clair College of Caloocan, headed by Professor Alarcon. We'd like to welcome them to the Senate, and guests of Senator Gatchalian, Mr. Aurelio Servando. Yes, they are here today. The parents and the parents of those who were hazing victims or victims of hazing, Mr. President. Mr. Aurelio Servando, the father of Gilo Servando, Cora Icasiano, the mother of Alex Icasiano, died in 1998 while being initiated in UP. And the family of Atio Castillo is with us also, Mr. President, and Mrs. Ellen Gran and Mrs. Cora Cachano of the Crusade Against Violence. I'd like to welcome them all to the Senate this afternoon, Mr. President.
Welcome to all of our guests.
Mr. President, there are a series of bills on third reading, and that's the reason I moved for the reference of business to be taken up later. So I move for the consideration on third reading for Senate Bill 1662 under Committee Report 233.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, may we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
Secretary, please do so.
An act amending Republic Act number 8049 to strengthen the law on hazing and regulate other forms of initiation rights of fraternities, sororities, and other organizations, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes.
Mr. President, printed copies of the measure were distributed last February 8, 2018, thereby complying with the 3-day rule. I therefore move to vote on third and final reading Senate Bill 1662 through a roll call vote.
Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, we will now vote on the measure for third and final reading.
The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay,
Department of Social
De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Onasan, Monteveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Soberi, Senate President.
With 19 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, Senate Bill number 1662 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, may I move for a 1-minute suspension?
Session is suspended.
We ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, Senator Gatchalian wishes to take the floor.
Senator Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hindi pa, Mr. President.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I am proud to manifest my wholehearted support for the passage of Senate Bill number 1662, otherwise known as the Anti-Hazing Act of 2018. Now that both chambers of Congress have approved legislation to amend and revitalize the 23-year-old anti-hazing law, Republic Act number 8049, it is all but certain that we will be able to deliver the final version of the bill to the President for his signature by the end of this school year. This is an achievement that the anti-hazing advocates have long awaited. Finally, after years of tireless dedication to the cause, we are so close to implementing meaningful legal reforms which will completely prohibit hazing in all of its forms and ensure that those who commit hazing and anyone who would dare to conceal or cover up their crimes will be held accountable for their crimes before the courts of law. Mr. President, the passage of this bill into law won't be able to restore the young and promising lives taken from the Castillos, the Servandos, the Ignacianos, and all of the other families who have lost loved ones due to the tragic evil of hazing. However, I hope that these families will take pride in knowing that their strong and courageous voices have had a fundamental impact in shaping this legislation so that hopefully no more families will be made to endure what they have. At bilang panghuli, Mr. President, nais kong magbigay ng payo sa lahat ng mga fraternities, sororities at organisasyong patuloy na nagtutulak ng hazing bilang pamamaraan ng kanilang kapatiran. Ito na ang huli ninyong pagkakataon para ayusin ang mga baluktot ninyong paniniwala. Sa oras na may sa batas ang panukalang ito, tinitiyak ko na wala na kayong palusot na maaari pang gamitin para takasan ang inyong mga maling gawi at pananagutan. Kaya ang simple kong panawagan, itigil ninyo na yan bago pa mahuli ang lahat sa inyo. Wala na kayong takas sa susunod. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you. Mr. President, again, Senator Subiri, Mr. President.
Senator Subiri. Thank you, Mr. President. I gave my speech already, my second reading vote last week, but I'd like to again reiterate my thanks to the chairperson, to Chairman Ping Lacson of the Committee on Public Order and Security. Sir, thank you very much for taking this cause. To Senator Gatchalian and to all my colleagues who were there, including our majority floor leader, who had a personal stake at this anti-hazing law. I would like to make special mention those who are here today with us, Mr. President. When we approved it on third reading, we could not help but get emotional to see the sight of members of families whose children had died from hazing. And we have here with us Aurelio Servando, father of Gilio Servando, who was killed in 2014, also a victim of hazing. We have with us Ma'am Cora Icasiano, mother of Alex Icasiano, who was killed due to hazing in 1998. And of course, we have our very own family. I say very own because the daughter worked in my office, Mr. President. No other than Acho Castillo's family that are here today with me, Toti and Mini Castillo, together with her, with the daughter and the uncle of Acho. So many names in this list of people, of those who died due to hazing. We have John Mark Dugan, a 19-year-old sophomore Marine cadet of Maritime Academy of Asia whose death was by hazing. How about the 20-year-old San Beda University law student who was beaten to death by members of the fraternity that he wanted to join by the name of Mark Andre Marcos? Then you have a University Makati student who was killed in his initiation rites, and his body was recovered from a 30-foot cliff in Laguna, off a 30-foot cliff in Laguna, by the name of E.J. Carl Incha. And so many more victims due to hazing, Mr. President. With what the committee has done and what we have filed and now passed on third reading, soon to be approved through the BICAM and signed by the President into law, we hope that there should be no more senseless deaths such as these. I have children too, Mr. President. My son is 7 years old, my daughter is 9 years old, and I have a 3-year-old son. 10 years from now, when my son goes to college, I don't want him to to suffer the same fate that many of our brothers and sisters had suffered through the hands of fraternities and sororities for the sake of brotherhood and sisterhood. There's many ways to be able to earn your right as a brother and a sister without having to beat one another to death, Mr. President. And so again, I thank this chamber for the swift action on the anti-hazing law. And again, I'm so happy that the deaths of these people, most especially Acho Castillo, did not go in vain. I'd like to also make special mention to my co-member of the Red Cross, Attorney Kapunan, and their son, for continuing the crusade for the Acho Castillo family. And the fight still continues, Mr. President, and I would like to put on record to appeal to the DOJ to finally file the case at court. Apparently, this resolution is ready. It's ready for filing. Let us not delay any further. Mauuna pa yung batas kaysa sa kaso. I-file na po yung kaso para sila ay makulong na Let the fight be at the courts, Mr. President, and let them prove their innocence if they are even innocent, Mr. President. That is my appeal, my last appeal before I end my speech to the DOJ and the prosecution service. Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Maraming po salamat sa ating mga kapatid.
Senator Gordon.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I'd like to congratulate this Senate for moving as fast as we could to see to it that this landmark legislation is accomplished. It's important that we send a signal to all universities, to all fraternities in the country, that fraternity should really be a vehicle upon which we build character and we build young men and women to be able to make of themselves better citizens of this country. Today, we send a very strong message to the universities that this law, although it has been passed, must be implemented not just by going after the killers of Acho, but to make sure that if any of these fraternities exist, they must be properly supervised by the universities, and there should be moderators in the university to see to it, along with the alumni fellows, that there is that responsibility that these sort of situations don't occur anymore. I was asked by Acho's father just a while ago, knowing that my own father was assassinated, and we were talking about whether the pain will go away. The pain never goes away, Mr. President. It lingers. But I also told him that in time, we will feel better, and it started to feel better because they have been able to fight and make sure that this bill is passed into law. But it doesn't stop there, Mr. President. All of us are duty-bound to see to it that it doesn't become a dead-letter law, that all of us, engage in self-congratulations that we have passed this landmark legislation. Kagawa tayo ng batas na talagang akala natin ma-assuage. For example, my good friend and brother, Senator Subiri, just talked about the Department of Justice. At times, Mr. President, they say justice runs very slow. But in our country, it would appear that we have to prod the Secretary of Justice to make sure that they move a little faster. They are, after all, slow as molasses. And at times, if there is no public clamor for justice, hindi gagalaw yung Department of Justice. I know, and I share this with Acho's father, Toti, na kailangan mag-lobby ka. How many justice secretaries did I have to meet in order to try and get justice? I told them that I had to go to Muntinlupa to talk to one of the killers of my father to find out whether we can get the masterminds. And up to now, the masterminds of 3 assassination attempts, like many young people who died in the fraternities, have never found justice, Mr. President. And so today, we put another bar into making it difficult to make sure that they abide by the law and that fraternities, if they are going to exist some more, and surely they will die, they will cease to exist if they continue in this path. If they do not, like other fraternities in this country, raise young people to become leaders of this country in the proper sense. And so, Mr. President, we join the families of those who have lost, the creme de la creme of their families, the youth of their family, to see to it that it doesn't happen again. But Mr. President, I also told Acho's father that no matter what, the world never seems to learn, and there will be evil. Should we be pessimistic, therefore? I don't think so, Mr. President. But there must be a bond created between parents, students, to make sure that an unceasing effort towards doing good, towards building up, to make sure that all these organizations or so-called extracurricular activities, that the energies of youth be channeled to more productive endeavors rather than inflicting pain on others, ay masunod. And so today, Mr. President, we pray for Acho. The world is better because he was here. He may have passed in a very, very sad manner. In a manner upon which parang walang budhi yung mga kasama na gumanap dito. But upon the other hand, look at what Acho has achieved. It has all affected us, and we have passed this bill, and hopefully it will be signed into law, and we shall see to it that it is finally implemented, and all this pain will eventually go away. And so, Mr. President, I congratulate the Senate. I thank Acho's family for continuing the fight and to making sure that we do not shirk from our responsibility of fixing such problems in our country. And so, Mr. President, mabuhay po ang Pilipinas kahit na tayo namatayan, mabubuhay po ang Pilipinas kung tayo ay matututo sa mga ganitong kaganapan at may magagawa tayong kabutihan finally with each other. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move for the consideration of Senate Bill 1620 for third reading. This is under Committee Report 171.
Any objection? Hearing none, the
May
motion
we
is approved.
request the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
An act abolishing the road board, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 8794.
Mr. President, printed copies of the measure were distributed last February 8, 2018. Thereby complying with the 3-day rule, I therefore move to vote on third and final reading Senate Bill 1620 through a roll call vote.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. The Secretary will now conduct the roll call vote.
The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ercito, Escudero, Quetzalian, Gordon, Honasan, Monteveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 18 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, Senate Bill number 1620 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Chamber, I move for the consideration of PS Resolution 620.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
We ask Secretary to read the title of the measure, Mr. President, without prejudice to inserting into the records the entire text of the resolution.
Sana tayo?
A resolution expressing the sense of the Senate for the immediate implementation of the provisions of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act by administering and affording the students free tuition and other school fees at the start of the second semester of academic year 2017-2018. Senators Aquino IV, Angara, Pinay, Drilon, Ercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan II, Monteveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan po, Recto, Soto III, Trillanes IV, Villanueva, Villar, and Zuberi.
Majority Leader?
Mr. President, may I move to recognize the sponsor of the measure, Senator Bam Aquino.
Senator Aquino is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, mga kaibigan at mga kababayan. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. It's an honor, Mr. President, to sponsor a resolution expressing the sense of the Senate for the immediate implementation of the provisions of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act by administering and affording the students free tuition and other school fees, including this current semester, Mr. President, which is the second semester of academic year 2017 to 2018. Mr. President, dear colleagues, on January 24, 2016, I delivered my sponsorship speech in joining 2017, I delivered my sponsorship speech, Mr. President, in joining all of us to stand behind free college education in the Philippines as principal sponsor of the now enacted Republic Act number 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Thanks to your support and thanks to the hard work and strong will of a great number of advocates in and outside Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate of the Philippines ratified this landmark bill on May 30, 2017. On August 3, 2017, Mr. President, amidst rumors and rumblings of a veto, the President signed this revolutionary reform into law as Republic Act number 10931. Mr. President, fellow lawmakers, I remember how we all worked together, crossed party lines to champion education in the Philippines. Together, we enacted a progressive new policy that prohibits our public universities and colleges from charging students tuition fees and other school fees. Sa totoo lang, Mr. President, pag binabalita ko po ito sa mga estudyante at magulang, hindi po sila makapaniwala na wala na silang babayaran sa kolehiyo. Sa mga hindi pa po makakapaniwala, totoo po ito. Naisabatas na po noong August 3 at naging effective ng August 18. Bawal na mangolekta ng tuition fee at miscellaneous fees ang ating state universities and colleges sa ating bansa. And more than this, Mr. President, on December 19, 2017, the General Appropriations Act was signed with a 41 billion peso allotment for the implementation of this landmark legislation. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, we all know that we secured significant funding to cover this law. In fact, as early as 2016, thanks to our colleague Senator Lacson and Budget Chairperson Senator Ligarda, an 8.3 billion peso budget was inserted into the 2017 General Appropriations Act. And thanks to this insertion, Mr. President, all 112 state universities and colleges eliminated the tuition fee charge for about 1.6 million students. Now, take note, Mr. President, dito po sa 8.3 billion na ito, meron pa ring natitirang 4.9 billion na nasa budget allocation pong ito. This year, Mr. President, there's an additional 41 billion in the 2018 budget to ensure that our countrymen will receive the full benefit of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Mr. President, this 41 billion is divided into two. 17.7 billion pesos for a newly created tertiary education subsidy for college scholarships, and these can be availed of by students from both public and private universities. And of course, the remodeled and improved student loan program. Of course, Mr. President, and more importantly, we have 23.3 billion pesos to cover tuition fees and other school fees like miscellaneous fees in our SUCs, LUCs, and test-the-run technical vocational schools. Mr. President, this astounding 23.3 billion pesos can fund not only the current second semester of academic year 2017-2018. This is the ongoing semester right now, Mr. President. But it can also fund academic school year 2018 to 2019. In short, Mr. President, sobra-sobra pa ang kailangan natin, ang nailaan natin para sa budget po ng libreng kolehiyo sa ating bansa. So, Mr. President, the question is no longer, should we provide students with a free college education? The answer, Mr. President, is yes, because we passed the law. The question, Mr. President, is no longer if we can afford it. Because, Mr. President, for the 2018 GAA, sobra-sobra pa. From the 2017 GAA, merong 4+ billion pang natitira. The question, Mr. President, is when? When will we implement this landmark law kung saan lahat po tayo nagkaisa at pinasa ang napakagandang batas na ito? Kailan? When will our public universities and colleges provide free tuition and free miscellaneous expenses for the benefit of the students? When will this landmark law be fully implemented in our country? Pasado na po ang batas, napondohan po sa national budget at sapat na sapat po ito. Kailan makikinabang ang mga estudyante, ang mga pamilyang Pilipino, kailan po makikinabang ang taong bayan sa libreng kolehiyo sa ating bansa? Noong January 26, sinabi po ng CHED na sa academic year 2018 to 2019 pa raw ipatutupad ang libreng kolehiyo, which includes tuition and school fees. Ngunit, Mr. President, nung bicameral conference, at marami po sa atin ang nandoon, and this was chaired by Senator Escudero, nagkasundo po ang komite that on the record, nalagay po natin na ang intensyon ng mga mambabatas ay kasama ang current semester po dito sa implementation ng ating batas. At sa ating nakalaang 2018 budget, Mr. President, kasama po ang libreng tuition at miscellaneous fees ng kasalukuyang semester sa ating napondohan. Alam po natin ito dahil kasama ho natin ang CHED. And Senator Legarda, of course, can attest to this. We worked with CHED to include the current semester and the language needed to include the current semester in our 2018 budget. In short, Mr. President, wala po tayong nakikitang funding or legal requirement kung bakit hindi po sinasama ang current semester dun po sa ating batas, sa implementation ng ating batas. Hindi po pondo ang problema. Hindi po legalities ang problema. Ang problema po, hindi ito pinapatupad ng CHED. Mr. President, we witnessed this. CHED employees and our LBRMO, through our office, worked together during the budget deliberation to ensure that the language of the budget provision allows for the fund to be used to cover tuition and other school fees for this current semester. In short, Mr. President, napag-usapan po ito at binoto po natin ito when we passed the GAA. So, Mr. President, ang tanong, kailan ba talaga natin ipatutupad ang batas na ito? When will our students and families experience the financial relief of a free college education? Mr. President, CHED says tomorrow, but with the sense of the Senate resolution signed by practically everybody here in the Senate, we say yesterday. Yesterday, Mr. President, dapat napatupad na. Yesterday, Mr. President, I went through videos, photos, and stories of students who dream of a college education, and of course, the parents who work tirelessly to make it happen. Na-meet ko, Mr. President, si Nanay Joanna, isang microfinance beneficiary sa Batangas. Mr. President, pangarap po niya makapagtapos ang dalawa niyang anak, kaya todo po ang pagkayod ni Nanay Joanna na nagtitinda po ng samut-saring produkto. Umuutang po para lang makapagbayad ng tuition at other school fees para sa kanyang anak sa Batangas State University. Nandun po si Aling Susana ng Zambales. Siya po, merong 4 na anak, 2 po, hindi na nakapagpatuloy sa kolehiyo, pero yung 2, porsigidong makapagtapos ng college. 2 taon na pong tumigil ang kanyang pangatlong anak ng pag-aaral dahil sa kahirapan sa buhay. Sa 2 taon pong yon, nag-ipon ang pamilya, nagtiyaga sa pangingisda, pagtatanim, at pagbibenta po ng kanilang ani. Dahil po sa libreng tuition, nag-aral na po ng automotive course sa RMTU ang kanyang anak na lalaki na 21 years old. Ito po yung pinakabata. Ngunit nahihirapan pa rin at kailangan pa rin ng ayuda para matustusan ang lahat ng gastos. Nandiyan din po si Kuya Noli, isang security guard sa Iloilo. Nung pumunta po ako doon sa kung saan po siya nagtatrabaho, nabanggit ko po sa isang interview na magiging libre na po ang kolehiyo. Sa kanya pong tuwa, napasigaw siya, buti na lang dahil meron po siyang 2 anak sa college. Kahit po nagtatrabaho siya bilang security guard at ang kanyang asawa ay labas-pasok po bilang overseas Filipino, nahihirapan pa rin silang mabayaran ang gastos sa bahay at sa pag-aaral ng kanyang mga anak. Sa libreng tuition, sabi po ni Kuya Noli, magkakaroon na ng magandang kinabukasan ng anak namin at makakatulong din sila sa aming pamilya. Mr. President, umaasa po sina Nanay Joanna, Aling Susana, Kuya Noli at napakarami pang magulang sa kapangyarihan ng edukasyon. Umaasa po sila sa oportunidad na mabuksan ng isang college degree para sa kanilang anak ang isang mas magandang bukas. Araw-araw, buwan-buwan, taon-taon sila po'y kumakayod upang matustusan lang ang gastos sa bahay at mapaaral ang kanilang mga anak. Mr. President, kailangan po nating tularan ang mga magulang na ito. Tulad po nila, pangalagahan po natin ang edukasyon at manalig na tayong isang mabisang solusyon upang matuldukan po ang kahirapan sa ating bayan. Tulad po ng mga mabubuting magulang na yan, gawin po natin ang lahat upang mapaaral ng kolehiyo ang ating mga kabataan. Let's take inspiration from their stories, from the work that they put in, from the love that they give to their children, and countless more Filipino families who work together, who exhaust all opportunities just to achieve a dream of prosperity. Mr. President, dear colleagues, on January 24, 2016, I delivered my sponsorship speech enjoining all of us to stand behind free college education in the Philippines. And of course, Mr. President, everybody responded. This, Mr. President, if I'm not mistaken, is still one of our priority bills here in the 17th Congress. Many of us, Mr. President, took a stand and said, we will pass free college education in the Philippines. And today, Mr. President, with the sense of the Senate, we take another stand to say that we want this implemented right now. Ngayon na po. So, Mr. President, with my co-authors, who I'd like to thank again, Senators Recto, Villanueva, Ejercito, Gatchalian, Pangilinan, Angara, Legarda, De Lima, Villar, Zubiri, Gordon, and of course, Senators Lacson and Legarda for the first budget allocation in 2017. I'd like to thank them, Mr. President, and I'd like to thank everyone for getting behind the sense of the Senate and to show our country that we stand behind our students who wish to get free college education. And we stand especially, Mr. President, for the parents and the breadwinners who work nonstop so that their children can achieve their dreams. So, Mr. President, I call on all of us to unite and demand for the full and immediate implementation of RA 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. President, Senator Joel Villanueva wishes to insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech.
Let it be done.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then Senator J.B. Ejercito and Senator Sonny Angara wishes to be recognized to co-sponsor the resolution, Mr. President.
Okay. So Senator Ejercito first.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. Education is of paramount importance to a nation's development. It is the foundation for a sustainable future. With education, people are empowered. It gives them hope, dignity, and confidence. It is a ticket to success and economic growth. Access to education has always been a setback for the less fortunate families in our country. But these families strive to send their children to school, and if their means allow it, to finish college. For these reasons, Congress ensured the passage of Republic Act number 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Congress did not make an empty promise. In the General Appropriations Act of 2018, it included 41 billion pesos exclusively for the full implementation of the Free Tertiary Education Law. It is the goal of this Congress to give opportunity to more Filipino students to study in colleges and universities this year without the burden of paying tuition fees. Unfortunately, this goal seems unattainable at the moment because 6 months after the enactment of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, the Commission on Higher Education failed to issue the implementing rules and regulations for the said law. This serves as a hindrance to the fulfillment of the Congress goal to provide free tertiary education to the youth. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thus, it is our role to put every Filipino child in school, to provide them with the quality learning, and to equip them with knowledge and skills that will transform their lives and may give them the chance to be leaders of our country. Ang aking paniniwala, Mr. President, ang tunay na paraan upang maiangat ang antas ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino ay magkaroon ng graduate sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino. With Senate Resolution number 620, I am expecting that the proper and prompt implementation of the free tuition program will be carried out for the academic year 2018-2019. That in establishing a qualifying mechanism, financially disadvantaged but academically able students will be prioritized and the fund will reach as many as possible and to those who need it most. In view of the foregoing, Mr. President, I urge this august body to adopt Senate Resolution number 620. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Angara, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader, distinguished colleagues. We rise in support of Senator Bam Aquino, who has been at the forefront of our long-held advocacy of making education at all levels and forms universally accessible for all Filipinos. Today, our education system, like some of the country's most established institutions, is going through a frenzy of changes. Rolling out a program as ambitious, as comprehensive, and as urgent as universal tertiary education is no simple matter. We are confident that the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, is doing what it can to keep up, even though it is going through its own process of transformation and is subjected to its own set of limitations and constraints. May balita po tayong natanggap na kahit na isabatas na ang Republic Act 10931 o Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act itong nakarang Agosto, may ilang state universities o colleges, SUCs, na kumokolekta pa rin ng matrikula at iba pang bayarin para sa pangalawang semestre ng school year 2017 to 2018. Ito po ay taliwas sa pinagtibayan ng Kamara at ng Senado noong Bicameral Conference Committee tungkol sa Republic Act 10931 na dapat maimplementa na ang batas simula Nobyembre 2017. Kinikilala naman natin ang sinasabi ng mga opisyalis ng CHED na June 2018 pa daw ganap na matutupad ang batas dahil kasalukuyang hinahasa pa rin ang IRR nito. Tama naman na masinsinan ng pagsuri sa mga polisiya at patakaran na magbibigay buhay sa napakagandang batas na ito. Pero sa bawat oras na hindi nakakapagbigay ng ayudang pang-edukasyon ng gobyerno, maraming estudyanteng Pilipino ang mahantala sa kanilang pag-aaral. At para sa ilan, ang panandaliang pagtigil ay humahantong sa habang buhay na paghihirap. Lumalaki po ang utang, nadadagdagan po ang bigat sa bulsa ng pamilya, at nahahadagan ang pangarap. That's why, Mr. President, we want to look into how we can fast-track the full implementation of Republic Act 10931. In co-sponsoring this resolution, we wish to assure CHED and all concerned agencies that the Senate is ready to do what is needed so that even the second semester of school year 2017 to 2018 will be fully covered. Every reform worth pursuing has its own share of constraints and challenges. Walang magandang reforma na walang kaakibat na pagsubok. One might even argue that the worthier the cause, the bigger the challenges. I believe that's what rallied all of us to support the swift enactment of this law, Mr. President. There is no reason that we cannot do this again and unite for this noble purpose. Thank you.
Mr. President, I move to adopt PS Resolution 620, subject to style.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for a few minutes of suspension and will ask that the parents of the victims of hazing be join the Senate President.
Session is suspended for a few minutes.
We're ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, Senator Lauren Legarda, the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations, will sponsor 3 resolutions, all pertaining to the ratification of treaties on avoidance of double taxation. Similar to what we did previously, Senator Legarda will deliver an omnibus sponsorship on the measures. However, for purposes of interpellation and its passage on second and third reading, we will be taking it up one at a time. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection to the procedure outlined by the Majority Leader? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following bills: Senate Resolution 613 under Committee Report 235, Senate Resolution 615 under Committee Report 237, and Senate Resolution 617 under Committee Report 239.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to consider Senate Resolution 613, 615, and 617.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measures, Mr. President?
Secretary, please do so.
Resolution concurring in the ratification of the agreement between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the United Mexican States for the avoidance of double taxation with respect to taxes of income and the prevention of fiscal evasion.
President, to give us
There are 2 other measures, please. Read
Two other.
the title.
Resolution concurring the ratification of the convention between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the Kingdom of Thailand for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. Resolution concurring in the ratification of the convention between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income.
Mr. President, to sponsor the mentioned measures, may we ask the Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations, Senator Lauren Legarda, be recognized.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
Mr. President, I have the honor to seek approval of 3 double taxation avoidance agreements, namely Senate Resolution number 615 under Committee Report number 237. Just to save time, to save on my voice, I will no longer read it into the record. It's flashed on the screen. Senate Resolution number 613 under Committee Report 235. Senate Resolution 617 under Committee Report 239. These double taxation avoidance agreements are intended to promote international trade and investment in several ways, the most important of which is by allocating taxing jurisdiction between the contracting states so as to eliminate or mitigate double taxation of income. These agreements are also intended to permit the contracting states to better enforce their domestic law so as to reduce tax evasion. To promote cross-border trade and investment, these agreements seek to, first, allocate taxing jurisdiction so as to avoid double taxation. Second, reduce source state taxation. Third, prohibit discrimination based on alienage, foreign organization, or foreign ownership. And fourth, promote resolution of situations in which the income taxable by one contracting state as opposed to the other contracting state is in question. With regard to better enforcing domestic tax laws, these treaties also provide that contracting states exchange information under the Exchange of Information article. This is necessary since the tax systems of most countries rely to a very large extent on voluntary compliance, which leaves room for abuse. Thus, it is important that a contracting state be able to obtain from its treaty partners information about persons and activities subject to taxation in that state. The DTAA with Thailand is a renegotiated agreement. Upon entry into force of the renegotiated convention, the existing convention between the Philippines and Thailand for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to tax income, which was signed on July 14, 1982, will terminate and cease to have effect. The TTAA with Mexico seeks to deepen the Philippine-Mexico economic relations, which finds its roots in the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade, by enhancing cooperation on tax matters. The DTAA with Sri Lanka would help both nations not only in improving bilateral trade relations, but also to further their respective economies, allowing both nations to closely identify with all developing countries as well as strengthen ties with South Asian countries. As a developing country, the Philippines' lowering of income tax rates or even not imposing such taxes under certain instances with respect to income derived by non-residents may in effect encourage the flow of capital, technology, equipment, and services in our country. When there is a sufficient supply of capital or foreign currency in the country, this may translate into lower interest rates and more companies will be encouraged to expand their businesses or purchase equipment, raw materials, and even services from foreign suppliers. Moreover, when intangible properties like patents and know-how and equipment are leased by non-residents to domestic companies in the Philippines, this means more products will be developed in the country, thus reducing the need to import such products. Further, when services are encouraged to take place in the country, this means more economic activities and increased transfer of technology. It is for these reasons and more that your Committee on Foreign Relations respectfully urges the Senate to concur in the ratification of these treaties. Second, no, tuloy-tuloy na. Oo, the video. Okay.
The matters under consideration are the double taxation avoidance treaties, Madam. So if you're done with the
Yes,
special-
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, in that case, I move to suspend consideration of the measures to give time to the other senators to study the resolutions.
Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders, PS Resolution 616, under Committee Report 238.
616. Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
I move to consider PS Resolution 616 under Committee Report 238.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
Resolution concurring in the accession to the Convention on Cybercrime.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, may we ask Chair of the Committee on Foreign Relations, Senator Loren Legarda, be recognized. Afterward, Senators Nancy Binay and Risa Ontiveros will co-sponsor the measure, Mr. President.
Senator Legarda is recognized to sponsor the resolution concurring in the accession to the Convention on Cybercrime.
Mr. President, cyberspace is now at the core of how societies, groups, corporations, and individuals worldwide interact with each other. Considering the dynamic nature of the knowledge age we are in, it is imperative that the country is ahead of the curve as it navigates its way to this technological revolution, mindful both of its promised benefits and perhaps crucially, its incumbent threats. In fact, if I may digress a bit, just 30 minutes ago before we suspended, I met with the PNP Women's Desk as well as the International Justice Mission and its lawyers and operatives to talk about the importance of the expanded Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act and how, despite our two laws which this representation authored and sponsored, and despite efforts to curb, if not totally eliminate, trafficking of women and children, we are still, according to our sources in government, the #1 source of trafficked and violated women, and children because of our technology age. The predators are abroad, the victims and cooperators are here, sometimes closest to the children, their families, their neighbors, their parents, their uncles, their brothers. And soon I will deliver a privileged speech on that. And there are the unthinkable, unimaginable horror stories of using animals by predators abroad. But that's a different story altogether. There is a pressing need to enhance the national cybersecurity capability to be able to protect vital government networks, information and communications technology infrastructure, businesses, and individuals. It is important for the country to utilize all means at its disposal and adopt all necessary mechanisms to effectively address threats associated with cyber technology, particularly cyber crime. According to the 2017 State of the World's Children Report of UNICEF, the Philippines is the #1 global source of child pornography and a hub for the live stream sexual abuse trade. Around 8 out of every 10 Filipino children are at risk of online sexual abuse or bullying. For this reason alone, we need to enhance national cyber security. It is in this light that your Committee on Foreign Relations seeks your approval of Senate Resolution number 616 under Committee Report 238, entitled Resolution Concurring in the Ratification of the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. The Budapest Convention on Cybercrime was adopted by the Committee on Ministers of the Council of Europe during its 109th session way back in November 8, 2001, and was opened for signature on the same year, November 23, 2001. It entered into force on July 1, 2004. Sometimes we ask ourselves, we've been sitting here for so long, especially Senator Soto, Senator Drilon. It was in our first term when this was signed. The Senate has not concurred in it. Perhaps the executive have not transmitted it to the Senate for concurrence. Where have we gone wrong, or have we been remiss? To date, the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime remains the sole binding international legal mechanism adopted by countries to address the threats posed by cybercrime, with 56 state parties ratifying the treaty as of April 2017. The Budapest Convention on Cybercrime has facilitated multilateral cooperation and enhanced collective capability to interdict and/or suppress cybercrime. As a groundbreaking international legal framework on cybercrime, the Convention has produced numerous significant best practices and has spurred even non-signatory countries to adhere to some of its provisions. A major feature of this convention is the track towards the harmonization of domestic legal procedures of state parties, with the intention of addressing the emergence of so-called safe havens. These areas are created when certain activities are not criminalized in a specific country. This results in individuals and/or organized groups being able to act with impunity in committing offenses in these countries. In addition, harmonization is crucial in the effective cooperation between and among law enforcement agencies. The Convention employs a comprehensive response in dealing with cybercrime. For instance, the multilateral agreement has provisions for addressing significant offenses, procedural laws, and international cooperation. As regards substantive offenses, these include offenses against the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer systems and data, computer-related crimes including but not limited to fraud and extortion, content-related offenses such as online voyeurism and child pornography, and intellectual property rights infringement. These provisions cover the wide spectrum of cybercrimes and are designed to offer flexibility in addressing future forms of cybercrimes and cyber threats. The Convention also promotes cooperation to the widest extent possible between and among state parties. These cooperative arrangements may cover investigations of cybercrimes and the gathering of electronic evidence. Cooperation is likewise encouraged in the area of information sharing, specifically in the real-time collection and interception of traffic and content data, respectively, provided that these arrangements are allowed under the state parties' domestic laws and other relevant treaties. Thus, the Convention avoids obligatory provisions on mutual assistance between and among parties. Mutual assistance is only extended within the ambit of permissive domestic laws of the requested party and the relevant mutual assistance treaties. Nevertheless, the Convention robustly fosters mutually beneficial cooperative arrangements between and among state parties to ensure effective action in combating cybercrimes. What are the advantages of our concurrence in the ratification? When the Internet was introduced, it was heralded as something that would transform the world for the better. But as it improved many things and ushered in a more intertwined humanity, it also gave rise to numerous unintended consequences, foremost of which is cybercrime. In the recent forms, cybercrimes have become conspicuously more sinister, complex, diverse. They can be a brazen, multi-million-dollar bank heist, an international cyber pornography operation peddling children through so-called private chat rooms, or disrupting an entire international airport's operation. Since cybercrime, by its very nature, is borderless, simultaneous, and persistent, cooperation, coordination, collaboration with other countries is therefore vital. Our engagement beyond our borders through mutual cooperation will be a key element in effectively addressing the scourge of cybercrime and cyber threats, while ensuring that the country conforms with international norms in protecting privacy rights, personal data, and freedom of expression. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, accession to the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime will provide the Philippines distinct guideposts on the track towards harmonizing our national laws with prevailing international legal frameworks and practices. This, in turn, will enable us to be in step with these norms and provide the country with an important framework for steering our continuing effort to fine-tune our national laws, practices, and procedures, and shore up our resilience in the face of a dynamic knowledge age. Further, the Philippines will be able to engage a significant number of like-minded countries on mutually beneficial, cooperative, and collaborative arrangements in combating cybercrimes and gain access to crucial assistance that would benefit our efforts to strengthen domestic capability in this regard. Finally, the accession will be an incontrovertible message to the international community of our firm resolve to play an active part in the comprehensive response against a concern that not only affects the Philippines, but the whole world. On the basis of these very compelling reasons, I humbly recommend that the Senate concurs in the ratification of the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. I would like to also acknowledge the firm resolve and support of Senators Nancy Binay and Risa Ontiveros. Among other colleagues, I think they wish to co-author or co-sponsor this as well. Thank you.
Senator Binay is recognized to co-sponsor the measure.
Sa gitna ka para maganda. Facebook Live mo si Senator
Then Senator Risa.
Facebook Live na.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is my honor today to co-sponsor and seek your concurrence to the ratification of the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. The Philippines is one of the most targeted countries for human trafficking and online sexual exploitation. This is why it's very important to safeguard our children from these digital threats. Nakakabahala po ang mga istatistika. According to UNICEF, the Philippines has become a top global source of child pornography, with around 80% of Filipino children at risk of online sexual abuse or bullying. Based on the 2016-2017 Philippine Cybercrime Report, the Department of Justice Office of Cybercrime, in partnership with the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group and National Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Division, received 32 reports of child pornography, a 34.3% increase from the previous year. Meanwhile, the 2018 National Impact Report Philippines on the digital lives of 8 to 12-year-olds, done by the Digital Intelligence Institute, shows that 93% of 8 to 12-year-old children in the Philippines are active on social media, and 73% of these children are at cyber risk. Nakakagambala ang mga report na patuloy lumalaganap ang mga litrato at mga video ng pang-aabuso sa ating mga kabataan. Kahit marami tayong nahuhuling operator at naisasarang mga cybersex din, malaking tulong ang ating pagpapatibay sa Budapest Convention on Cybercrime para tuluyang masugpo ang child pornography sa bansa. Aside from child abuse and child exploitation on the internet, the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime is very important to protect our people because it aims to address the threats posed by cybercrime and facilitates multilateral cooperation and enhance collective capability to suppress cybercrime. It can also serve as a guideline as we develop our own comprehensive national legislation against cybercrime. Last year, the national government launched its National Cybersecurity Plan 2022. This plan aims to protect critical infrastructure, government and military networks, business and supply chains, and individuals and internet users. It is responsible for assessing cybersecurity capabilities of various sectors and coordinating efforts with departments and law enforcement agencies. However, according to the Department of Information and Communications Technology, the Philippines is only in the reactive and manual phase and the tools-based phase of cybersecurity, based on the cybersecurity maturity model of the U.S. Department of Defense. This means that our cybersecurity investigators are still focused on curbing cyber threats during and after they happen, rather than finding its causes and working on its prevention. According to the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group's latest statistics, released last January 2017, the top complaints received by the unit were online libel, comprising 26.49% of the 1,865 cybercrime complaints for 2016. Online scam complaints came in second, followed by identity theft, online threats, and violation of the Anti-Photo and Video Voyeurism Act. The PNP ACG investigators admit that they need to work hard to keep up not just with the frequency of cybercrimes, but also with their ever-evolving nature. Because technology continues to change rapidly, it is crucial for our investigators to remain updated in order not to get left behind. Adopting the convention would help in our country's modernization, especially in the ways of securing digital evidence, which would apply to the investigation of any crime, not just cybercrime. The Budapest Convention provides for the criminalization of conduct ranging from illegal access, data and systems interference, to computer-related fraud and child pornography, procedural law tools to make investigation of cybercrime and securing of e-evidence in relation to any crime more effective, and international police and judicial cooperation on cybercrime and e-evidence. In addition, the approval of the convention would make the Philippines part of an international cooperative framework. Imagine the Philippines as part of a 24/7 network through which every country establishes a contact point to ensure immediate assistance in cybercrime investigations. According to the Global Risk Report 2018, cyber attacks place third in the top 5 global risks, behind only extreme weather events and natural disasters. Cyber attacks are unique because of its reach. For example, a cyber criminal in one country can target victims at the other end of the world. Likewise, a group of cyber criminals from different countries can organize themselves to target victims from other countries. This is the unfortunate reality of the connected world we live in. The internet, which provides us with unparalleled connectivity, can also give unscrupulous individuals with anonymity and a transient access, all of which to serve enable such attacks. On top of that, parallel structures over the internet, known as the dark web, have emerged to aid in facilitating cyber attacks of all kinds, allowing an underground economy to thrive. Our country has a duty and responsibility to help in this war against cybercrime. Through the ratification of the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, we hope to stamp our mark in this war and to finally put an end to cybercrime not only in our country but also in the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Ontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, at magandang hapon po. I'd like to introduce to you a girl named Sweetie. She's 10 years old, a Filipina. Posing on video chat rooms for 10 weeks in a warehouse on the outskirts of Amsterdam, she was able to make contact with 20,000 men. 1,000 of them offered her money. Within seconds of logging in, Sweetie was instantly surrounded by pedophiles. 1,000 men offered to pay her to take off her clothes in front of a webcam. 254 of them were from the US, 110 from the UK, 103 from India, and the rest from other countries. Sweetie was created by Terre des Hommes, a Dutch NGO which does research on child abuse. She is an online avatar run by artificial intelligence and designed as a pedophile magnet. She was able to identify and track those who prey on young children online. This pilot project was transferred to the authorities and was able to help the Australian police, the Interpol, and even our own Philippine National Police in the crackdown against online predators. It's important to note why it was deemed effective for Terre des Hommes to identify their AI bait as a 10-year-old Filipino girl. Sweetie might not have been a real person, but the victimization of young Filipino girls on the web, I'm afraid, Mr. President, my fellow senators, is horrifyingly real. In 2017, as Chairwoman Lauren and Senator Nancy said, the UNICEF tagged the Philippines as the #1 global source of online child abuse, the epicenter of live-stream sexual abuse trade, a global hub for child pornography. Child pornography is a billion-dollar industry which uses children to perform sex acts in front of a web camera. And according to data, Filipino children are the topmost being traded and exploited online. around 80% of our kids are at risk of online sexual abuse. The youngest victim was a 2-month-old baby. Websites, mobile apps, and online payment methods have helped accelerate the proliferation of sex trafficking and made-to-order child pornography. But the exploitation doesn't end online. One of the rescued victims was a 12-year-old Filipino girl who was forced to live stream sexual acts from her neighbor's house, earning about 150 pesos for each show. Her clients later flew in from the United States to the Philippines to continue sexually maltreating her, and would have done so had she not been rescued by the authorities. Children as young as 5 or 6 are forced to perform several times a day in front of a webcam for an hour at a time for buyers in different time zones. The pedophiles then transfer money and give instructions on what they want to see. The heartbreaking findings of the UNICEF stated that there are some cases where the exploitation was facilitated by mothers and fathers or other relatives. Some were even perpetrated in their own homes. Kahirapan ang nagtutulak sa mga magulang na ito upang ibenta ang kanilang mga anak para sa 150 piso isang oras. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, the Philippines receives 7,000 reports of cybercrime a month, half of which are related to child sex abuse. According to studies, live streaming of child sex has boomed in the country because of our fluency in English, access to the internet, and well-established money transfer systems that OFWs use to send earnings home. In 2014, it was reported that online sexual exploitation was the leading form of cybercrime. This is why, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I stand here this afternoon and join my fellow senators to urge this body to ratify the Convention on Cybercrime. In cybersex, the predator won't simply come forward. The victim also often won't come forward. As demonstrated by Sweetie and Terre des Hommes, technology can help authorities in tracking down these monsters. As these crimes happen online, it requires a new way of policing. Traditional arrests might be ineffective. Cybersex dens might be busted once in a while, but smaller operations carry on undetected. Some businesses are run independently, and innocent-looking cyber cafes host dark corners where most shows happen. Subscribing to the standards and cooperation framework of the Convention on Cybercrime will allow authorities to pursue those paying for content outside our territorial boundaries, many coming from rich countries such as the US and Australia. The Convention will provide states with the criminalization of a list of attacks against and by means of computers, procedural law tools to make the investigation of cybercrime and the securing of electronic evidence in relation to any crime more effective and subject to rule of law safeguards, and international police and judicial cooperation on cybercrime and e-evidence. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, we should extend our law enforcement mechanism and use the opportunities made available by this convention to protect our children. Let's ratify the Convention on Cybercrime. Let's make the internet a safe space for our girls. Let's save our sweeties. Magandang hapon at marami pong salamat.
President, to give time to the members to study the proposed measure, I move to suspend consideration of PS Resolution 616 under Committee Report 238.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders. PS Resolution 614 under Committee Report 236.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Move to consider PS Resolution 614.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, approved.
May we ask Secretary to read the title of the measure?
resolution concurring in the ratification of the agreement establishing ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office.
To sponsor the measure, Mr. President, move to recognize the Chair of the Committee on Foreign Relations, Senator Loren Legarda.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
And, you know, the lights should be closed so they see the screen. That should be automatic. I'm not a director here, but it should be automatic. The light should be closed. And tell yeah, ganyan. Pinapatay para ma... Mr. President, I have the honor to seek approval of proposed Senate Resolution 614 under Committee Report 236, entitled Resolution Concurring in the Ratification of the Agreement on the Establishment of ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, or AMRO, as an international organization. This comes at a time, Mr. President, when the ADB, which is obviously based in Manila, will host the annual meeting in May of this year, where the Bangko Sentral will host the annual meeting of central bank governors and finance ministers as well. I discovered during our hearing that we are the only ASEAN country which has not ratified this agreement. And so this is very urgent since we are the host and we are adjourning in March. It would be embarrassing that the host country is the only ASEAN country that has not ratified this agreement, thus the urgency. The ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, or AMRO, was established to contribute to securing the economic and financial stability of the region through the conduct of regional economic surveillance and by supporting the implementation of the Chiang Mai Initiative Multilateralization, CMIM, a multilateral currency swap arrangement among ASEAN Plus 3 members. AMRO was initially established as a company limited by guarantee in Singapore in April 2011. This agreement is intended to transform AMRO to an international organization with full legal personality. The end goal of the AMRO's transition to an international organization is to promote further financial stability in the region. The Philippines signed the AMRO agreement on October 10, 2014, and the Office of the President ratified the same on May 29, 2015. With a change in administration, the Office of the President once again ratified the AMRO agreement on January 6, 2017. The AMRO agreement has entered into force on February 9, 2016 with Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Brunei Darussalam, as well as the Plus 3 countries, China, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, having completed the respective domestic processes to ratify the agreement and deposited the respective instruments of ratification with the ASEAN Secretariat. The Philippines, as I mentioned, remains as the only ASEAN Plus 3 member that is yet to complete its domestic ratification process of the AMRO agreement. Given these developments, ratification of AMRO by the Philippines is urgent. Since its creation, the AMRO has been an effective macroeconomic surveillance institution, providing the ASEAN Plus 3 members with economic outlooks and policy recommendations. The AMRO publishes monthly and annual regional economic outlooks on the ASEAN Plus 3 region, as well as annual consultation reports on individual ASEAN Plus 3 members. These AMRO documents have proven to be useful tools for policymakers to make informed financial and economic decisions in their respective economies. AMRO has also been acting as secretariat and providing support in the implementation of the CMIM, the ASEAN Plus 3's financial stabilization mechanism, which provides financial support to an ASEAN Plus 3 member in the event of a balance of payment crisis. In these capacities, AMRO has provided CMIM with effective monitoring of ASEAN Plus 3 members' economic and financial health. The AMRO has been involved in providing capacity building to developing ASEAN members, namely Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. These training programs involve technical staff from the ministries of the said countries being seconded to AMRO and trained in economic surveillance analysis and reporting. At the same time, the AMRO has also been conducting seminars and workshops for ASEAN Plus 3 members. The seminars and workshops mostly tackle current regional economic and financial challenges and how authorities and policymakers may address these challenges. In its drive to become an international organization, AMRO has been increasing its linkages with other international organizations. It has recently signed a memorandum of agreement with the International Monetary Fund on information sharing and has had at many times co-organized seminars with the IMF. Similar arrangements with the Asian Development Bank are also being worked out. Last December, the AMRO has been given permanent observer status in the United Nations and has commenced its application to be registered with the International Labour Organization. In recent APEC and ASEAN summits, including those chaired and hosted by the Philippines, the AMRO has been proactive in providing knowledge materials, making their reports available in major meetings and conferences. The Senate's concurrence in the ratification of the agreement on the establishment of the AMRO as an international organization will complete the transition of the AMRO to international organization status. This status will provide the AMRO with a higher profile at par with other premier international institutions such as the ADB, the IMF, and the World Bank. The international organization status will afford the AMRO as an intangible capital that can give it access to intelligence, research, and other resources owned by other international organizations and regional and global fora. This will provide greater macroeconomic surveillance capability for the institution and consequently benefit the Philippines as one of its clients together with other ASEAN Plus 3 members. In view of the foregoing, I respectfully urge this august body to concur in the ratification of this agreement. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, move to suspend consideration of PS Resolution 614 under Committee Report 236.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration for the following Senate and House bills on the establishment, conversion, separation, and renaming of schools in various parts of the country. House Bill 5578, 6102, 6104, 6522, 6528, 6531, 6532, 6533, 6534, 6535, 6607, 6608, 6529, 6530, Senate Bill 1617, House Bill 6186, 6202, 6203, 6465, and 6523.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, the parliamentary status of the measures is that we are in the period of interpellations. So I move to open the period of interpellations, the enumerated bills, and ask that the sponsor be recognized. Chair of the Committee on Education, Senator Chis Escudero.
Any objection? Hearing none, we are now in the period for interpellation, and the sponsor, Senator Escudero, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask the permission of our distinguished Majority Floor Leader if I can be the one to move for the closure of the period of amendments and interpellation if there are none, Mr. President.
We proceed step by step, so if there are no interpellations, then there's a motion now to close. Any objection? Hearing none, approved. Majority Leader?
Amendments?
Shall we know?
Yes, move to open the period of committee amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? Approved.
I understand, Mr. President, just for clarity, that we are taking this omnibusly. May I therefore proceed directly to the committee report with a proposed amendment.
Okay. Please identify.
Namely, committee report number 224 on Senate Bill number 1617. May I propose the following amendments, Mr. President?
1617.
Okay. Number 1, on page 3, line 3, section 6, after paragraph F, insert the following, quote, G, the Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture, DA, in Region 11. Number 2.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Number 2, reletter the succeeding paragraphs accordingly.
Any objection?
Number 3, on page 10, section 23, delete lines 12 to 44.
Any objection?
Number 4, on the same page and section, line 11, place a period after 2012.
Any objection?
On the same page and section, line 46, delete the comma following the word ACT, ACT.
Any objection?
On the same page and paragraph, lines 46 to 47, delete the phrase unless in the meantime, and then read thereof insert the word until.
Any objection?
On the same page and paragraph, line 47, delete the comma and the succeeding phrase within a period not later than January 1, 2021, after the word herein, so that the section should now read as follows. Section 23, compliance with SHED requirements. The provisions notwithstanding, the conversion of the institution into a state university shall become effective only upon the determination and declaration by the SHED, based on the recommendation of a panel of experts. It shall constitute for the purpose that the institution has complied with the requirements for university status based on SHED Memorandum Order Number 46, Series of 2012. The institution shall retain its status prior to the effectivity of this act until it is able to comply with the requirements provided herein.
Any objection?
Some antecedent amendments, Mr. President. On page 1, lines 10 and 11, section 1, after the word university, delete the comma and the succeeding phrase integrating therewith the Governor Generosa College of Arts and Science and Technology located in the municipality of Governor Generosa, province of Davao Oriental. The section shall now read as follows. Section 1, conversion. The Davao Oriental State College of Science and Technology in the city of Mati, including all of its existing satellite campuses, namely Banay Campus in the municipality of Banay, Katiil Campus in the municipality of Katiil, and San Isidro Campus in the municipality of San Isidro, all located in the province of Davao Oriental, is hereby converted into a state university to be known as the Davao Oriental State University. The main campus of the Davao Oriental State University, hereinafter referred to as the university, shall be in Mati City. So move, Mr. President.
We are now in the period for individual amendments.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, so we let us make that clear. Any objection? Hearing none.
Number 2, on page 8, lines 45 and 46, section 17, after the word Isidro, delete the comma and the succeeding phrase, end of Governor Generosa College of Arts, Science, and Technology. So move, Mr. President.
What lines, sir?
On page 8, lines 45 and 46.
45 and 46. Okay, any objection? Approved.
Basically, Mr. President, we are removing the Governor Generoso College of Arts, Science, and Technology from the list of colleges to be included in the state college to be created. Number 3, on the same page, on the same section, page 9, lines 3 to 5, after the word Isidro, delete the phrase, and by the Governor Generoso College of Arts, Science, and Technology in the municipality of Governor Generoso. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Number 4, on page 9, line 24 to 28, section 19, delete the sentence, the municipality of Governor Generoso shall continue to provide financial assistance to the Governor Generoso College of Arts and Science and Technology until such time as its full funding requirement as integrated to the university is included in the Annual General Appropriations Act. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection?
Finally, in the title should now read as follows: Davao Oriental State University, delete the comma in the phrase integrating therewith the Governor Generoso College of Arts, Science, and Technology in the municipality of Governor Generoso, province of Davao Oriental. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection? Approved.
No further committee nor individual amendments, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
I move to close the period of amendments, Mr. President, in that case.
So, no amendments for the other measures?
No
Okay.
amendments.
Meron pa. So, for this particular one, okay.
For this particular
For
one.
Senate Bill
Okay.
1617.
Let us be clear. Okay, so, any objection to the motion to close the period for amendments for Senate Bill number 1617? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, insofar as Committee Report number 227 on House Bill number 6202 is concerned, may we propose the following amendments. Number 1, on page 9, line 4, section 9, delete the comma after the word school.
Any objection?
Number 2, on the same page and line and section, delete the phrase if qualified.
Any objection?
Number 3, on the same page, line and section, delete the comma after the phrase if qualified.
An objection?
Number 4, on the same page and section, line 5, delete the phrase, quote, ipso facto become the first president of the college, and in lieu thereof insert the phrase, act as the officer in charge pending the appointment of the first president of the state college within 6 months from the date of approval of this act. The board shall constitute the search committee for the presidency.
Any objection?
Finally, Mr. President, delete all the paragraphs in section 25 from page 13 to 14, and in lieu thereof insert the following. The college shall submit to CHED's regular monitoring of its status of compliance with the minimum requirements for academic program offerings based on relevant CHED policies, standards, and guidelines, PSGS, as well as its compliance with the horizontal typology requirements based on CHED Memorandum Order Number 46, Series of 2012. After 5 years of operation, it shall be evaluated by CHED to determine its compliance with the requirements for a college classification according to the horizontal typology of HEIS. Moreover, the college shall undergo the Institutional Sustainability Assessment, ISA, process to ensure that an internal quality assurance, IQA system has been established, leading to a sustainable offering of quality programs and services. The institution shall retain its status prior to the effectivity of this act until it is able to comply with the requirements provided herein. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection? Approved.
No further amendments, Mr. President.
So no individual amendments too for this particular
None, Mr.
measure, so
President.
we close the period for amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Meron pa. May amendments pa.
More to come, Mr.
Last
President.
two.
Okay, for any, what?
On Committee Report number 228 on House
Number
Bill number
228.
6203, Mr. President.
Go ahead, sir. We are now in the period for committee amendments.
On page 2, line 2, section 1, delete the name Salvador H. Escudero III and in lieu thereof insert the word Sorsogon.
Any objection? None.
On page 14, line 23, delete everything after 2012 on line 1 until line 27 and place a period after 2012.
Any objection?
On page 15, line 1, section 23, delete the comma following the word act.
Any objection?
On the same page in section line 2, delete the phrase unless in the meantime and in lieu thereof insert the word until.
Any objection?
On the same page in section line 3, delete the comma in the succeeding phrase within a period not later than January 1, 2020 after the word herein.
Any objection?
And finally, In the title, delete the name Salvador H. Escudero III and in lieu thereof, insert the word Sorsogon, so that the title should now read as follows. An act converting the Sorsogon State College in the province of Sorsogon into a state university to be known as the Sorsogon State University and appropriating funds therefore.
Any objection? Approved.
No further amendments, Mr. President.
No individual amendments. We therefore close the period for amendments for this measure.
Last, Mr. President.
Go ahead, sir.
On Committee Report number 229 on House Bill number 6465. May I propose the following amendments? On page 9, line 15, section 9, delete the comma following the abbreviation NMSCST.
Any objection?
On the same page and line and section, delete the phrase if qualified.
Any objection?
On the same page and section, delete the comma following the word qualified.
Any objection?
On page 17, line 26, delete everything after 2012 on line 2 until line 28 and place a period after 2012.
On
page 17, section 26,
Section
delete everything after 2012 on line 2 until line 28 and place a period after 2012.
Any objection? Approved.
On page 18, line 1, section 26, delete the comma following the word act.
Any objection?
On the same page and section, line 2, delete the phrase unless in the meantime and in lieu thereof insert the word until.
Any objection?
On the same page and section, line 3, delete the comma and the succeeding phrase within a period not later than January 1, 2021 after the word herein.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
No further amendments, Mr. President, for this measure. Wala na.
Sabihan mo.
Wala na amendment.
If there are no more individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual amendments on all the measures made, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill 5578.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Move to suspend consideration of House Bill 5578.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6102.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to suspend consideration of 6102.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6104.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to suspend consideration of House Bill 6104.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6522.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to suspend consideration of House Bill 6522. Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6528.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to suspend consideration of House Bill 6528.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6531.
Any objection?
Move to suspend consideration of House Bill 6531.
Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6532.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6533. I will move for the suspension later.
At the end,
of all
okay.
these.
Any objection? Approved.
I move to approve on second reading House Bill 6534.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6535.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6607.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6608.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6529.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6530.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading Senate Bill 1617.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6186.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6202.
Any objection?
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6203.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6465.
Any objection? Approved.
Move to approve on second reading House Bill 6523.
Any objection? Approved.
Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of House Bill 6532, 6533, 6534, 6535, 6607, 6608, 6529, 6530, 1617, 6186, 6202, 6203, 6465, and 6523.
Any objection? Approved.
Mr. President, we have a BICAM report. We haven't received the copy of a bicameral conference committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 1354 and House Bill 6452. This is the act establishing a national mental health policy for the purpose of enhancing the delivery of integrated mental health services, promoting and protecting the rights of persons utilizing psychiatric, neurologic, and psychosocial health services, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Before we recognize the chairman to report, Senator Risa Ontiveros wishes to seek the floor, Mr. President, and we'll do the manifestation thereafter. A manifestation by Senator Ontiveros, Mr. President.
Okay, Senator Ontiveros recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President and Majority Leader, and my good Senate Health Committee Chair. Mr. President, for so many years, mental health, a relevant public health issue that affects every one of us, has been cast in the shadows and spoken of only in whispers. Today, as we ratify the Mental Health Act, we're making an historic step, or taking an historic step, towards realizing our dream of a more progressive system for mental health, not only for those suffering from mental health problems, but also for all Filipinos. Through this act, we will reinforce mechanisms to ensure that the rights of individuals with mental health conditions are protected. We will also have a more robust health service delivery system that integrates mental health services at the community level and enhances the capacity of our government hospitals in providing high-level care. This act will likewise mainstream mental health promotion and education to reduce stigma and discrimination by integrating mental health in the school curriculum and institutionalizing mental health programs in different settings. It gives me immense pride to be part of the Congress which passed this landmark legislation and to be one of its principal sponsors. I would like to recognize the collective effort exerted by our colleagues both in the Senate and the House that enabled the prompt passage of this law that would truly make a significant impact in the lives of Filipinos. Senator JV, our chairman in the Health Committee, Senator Tito, the Majority Leader, Senator Sonny Angara, and all our other co-authors. I also want to acknowledge all our fellow mental health advocates and stakeholders who took part in the deliberations and supported this bill. The youth, the health professionals, the teachers and guidance counselors, government agencies, non-government organizations, and most importantly, the people who've experienced mental health conditions and their loved ones. I offer my heartfelt gratitude and at the same time, a gentle reminder that our work is not yet complete. We need to continue working together to ensure that the promise of the mental health law is fully realized. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, we would like to submit into the records a manifestation by Senator Sonny Angara and Senator Joel Villanueva, Mr. President. So with that, I now move to recognize the chair of the Senate panel, Senator J.B. Ercito, to give us the highlights of the BICAM report.
Senator Ercito is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as a result of the bicameral conference on the Mental Health Act, I have the honor to submit a copy of the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1354 and House Bill number 6452. Included in the report submitted is the joint explanatory statement on the disagreeing provisions of the two versions of the bill, which shall serve as my sponsorship speech. With the consent of the body, allow me to read the highlights of the bicameral conference report. Number 1, Section 5, Rights of Service Users. Section 6, Rights of Family Members, Carers, and Legal Representatives. And Section 7, Rights of Mental Health Professionals of the reconciled bill were adopted from the Senate and the House versions with amendments. Number 2, Section 15, Mental Health Services at the community level of the reconciled bill was adopted from the House version with amendments. It mandated primary mental health services to be developed and integrated as part of the basic health services at the appropriate level of care, particularly at the city, municipal, and barangay level. Number 3, Section 19, Duties and Responsibilities of Mental Health Facilities was adopted from the Senate version with an amendment. Subsection G, pertaining to the establishment of internal review board, was deleted since this is already provided for under Section 12, Internal Review Board of the Reconciled Bill. Number 4, Section 39, mandate of the Philippine Council for Mental Health of the Reconciled Bill was adopted from the House version with amendments. It will now be the policy-making, planning, coordinating, and advisory body attached to the Department of Health to oversee the implementation of the Mental Health Act. Last but not the least, number 5, the reconciled version also adopted a new provision creating the DOH Mental Health Division that will implement the National Mental Health Program and will also serve as the Secretariat of the Philippine Council for Mental Health. That's all, Mr. President. May I then move that we ratify the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1354 and House Bill number 6452 as submitted, Mr. President.
Just a question by the Minority Leader concerning the report, Mr. President.
Before we act on the motion.
Yes,
Minority Leader.
Yes, so before we act on the motion, my curiosity is just picked by a provision under Section 42 of the Act, which is found on page 25. There is a provision says creation of the DOH Mental Health Division. May we know, Mr. President, why is there no provision for a Senate Mental Health Division?
Mr. President, I don't think there is a need, Minority Leader, because I think we are, the conglomeration of the minds here, we don't need it anymore. That's why it's only the DOH.
I can give you a constitutional reason. The senators are not to benefit from laws they enact.
Aside from that, Mr. President, the fact is, if we will include a mental health division in the Senate, much more we should do that in the House of Representatives. Mr. President, I move that we adopt and ratify the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 1354 and House Bill 6452, and the text of the joint explanations be inserted into the records of the Chamber.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Just for the record, Mr. President, my last statement should be stricken off the record. I was just joking. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Message from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 5 February 2018, it passed the following House bills, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. 6649, an act strengthening further the pre-departure orientation program for overseas Filipino workers to include financial and entrepreneurial education, amending for the purpose Republic Act 8042 as amended, otherwise known as the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995.
Referred to the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development and Foreign Relations.
6834, an act strengthening the right of the people to free expression, to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances, repealing for the purpose Batas Pambansa Bilang 880 or the Public Assembly Act of 1985.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
6710, an act providing for additional prohibitions to and increasing penalties for violations of Republic Act number 8484, otherwise known as the Access Devices Regulation Act of 1998.
To the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions and Currencies, and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
6772, an act ensuring the preservation and management of protected areas, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7586, otherwise known as the National Integrated Protected Area System Act of 1992.
To the Committee on Rules.
6907, an act strengthening the legal framework for the creation, perfection, determination of priority rights and enforcement of security interests and personal property, and the establishment of a notice registry.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 6 February 2018 it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. 6754, an act renewing the franchise granted to Ultrasonic Broadcasting System, Inc. under Republic Act Number 8081 entitled An Act Granting the Ultrasonic Broadcasting System, Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines for another 25 years from the effectivity of this act.
To the Committee on Public Services.
6913, an act renewing the franchise granted to Radio Marine Network Incorporated under Republic Act Number 4607 as amended by Republic Act Number 7512.
To the Committee on Public Services.
6938, an act providing for the special protection of child passengers and motor vehicles.
To the Committees on Public Services and Women, Children, Family Relations, Gender Equality.
6974, an act creating the Baguio City, La Trinidad, Itogon, Sablantuba, and Tublay Development Authority, Blistada, defining its powers and functions and providing funds therefor.
To the Committees on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises, Economic Affairs, and Finance.
And House Bill Number 6995, an act converting the Camarines Sur Institute of Fisheries and Marine Sciences, CASIFMAS, Ragay campus located in the municipality of Ragay, Camarines Sur, into a TESDA supervised school to be known as Ragay Polytechnic Skills Institute and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance.
Bills on first reading, Senate Bill Number 1681, an act amending Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as an act reorganizing the judiciary, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes to create the positions for judges at large by Senator Sonny Angara.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
1682, an act authorizing the Department of Health to set and approve the bed capacity and the service capability of all DOH hospitals by Senator Sonny Angara.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
1685, an act granting full insurance coverage to all qualified agrarian reform beneficiaries of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, amending for the purpose Section 14 of the Republic Act Number 9700, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program Extension with Reforms, by Senator Emmanuel Manny D. Pacquiao.
To the Committees on Agrarian Reform and Finance.
Resolutions, PS Resolution 618, urging the Senate Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the delayed distribution of DepEd's performance-based bonus with the end goal of finding solutions to the situation and identifying safeguards in order to prevent delays in PBB delivery in the future, by Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance.
619, directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the issuance and renewal of passports for the purpose of addressing delays and to improve the passport application system, by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Committee reports, Committee Report Number 240, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, Ways and Means and Finance on Senate Bill Number 1683, with Senators Trillanes, DeFort, Angara, and Ligarda as authors thereof, entitled An Act Granting Benefits and Privileges to Former Presidents and Vice Presidents of the Philippines, or their surviving spouses, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 5059, repealing Republic Act Number 2087, and for other purposes, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill Number 637 by Senator Trillanes, DeFort.
To the Calendar for Ordinary Business.
Committee Report 241, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, Education, Arts, and Culture, on Senate Bill Number 1684, with Senators Lacson, Trillanes, DeFort, and Escudero as authors thereof, entitled An Act Declaring the Conferment of a Doctorate Degree as Equivalent to Entry-Level Career Executive Service Officer eligibility in the Civil Service, recommending its approval and substitution of Senate Bill Numbers 261 and 607, the sponsor, Senator Trillanes, DeFort.
To the Calendar for Ordinary Business. Majority Leader. Ano to? Moot na to? Moot.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, February 13, 2018. Di ko pala sinabi.
Is there any objection? There being none? Session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, February 13, 2018.
Pagdadalamhati, nanawagan ng katarungan ang pamilya ng OFW sa Kuwait na pinatay na, iniiwan pang nakasiksik sa freezer. Ang nating kababayan halos araw-araw